Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm the Sam, the bean's bopping around in the background, so you might hear him in a second, and today we are doing another speed build. I'm doing a Chateau inspired build today. I had a few reference images up that I was kind of working from, but nothing in particular, so I definitely wouldn't say that this is like a hallmark of the Chateau style. I pretty much had a couple of things that I knew I really wanted, and I found some cool pictures on Pinterest and then put them together. One of the things that I knew I really wanted was the ability to have a whole bunch of little balconies around, and I thought that a French chateau would be a great way to get that. And I wanted to make sure I had a huge sort of arboreum like that you just walk into with an enormous glass roof and just feel really fancy. But I also didn't want it to be too huge, so I'm building it on it's either a 30-40 or a 40-50 lot in the Brightchester, the university world. Oh, I also decided I wanted to try and use some round walls here, which of course is always a risk, as we know, but I decided to incorporate it as towers, and in the end, I think it looks pretty cool. It's definitely something that we haven't been able to do before. I think it's neat. Oh, and this is where I decided to change it from an octagon to a rectangle. I was experimenting a lot. I cut out quite a bit of the shell, like, building portion. This shell will be available on the gallery. I'll show you at the end. My ID is sahmandbean, which is the same as YouTube channel, just without the spaces if you want to check it out. But yeah, if you fill the shell, let me know. I'm on Instagram and TikTok, and so you can like tag me or whatever if you share the screenshots there. Here I messed up where I drew walls and then deleted them and then drew them again because I realized I was trying to delete the other ones. And I was pretty much satisfied with the base of the shell at this point, so I was drawing some little decks and copying them, placing them around, some balconies, all that stuff. Trying to figure out how I wanted the entrance to be, starting to think about like how I was going to roof this thing and all that. A lot of thought, well, I don't know. I put a lot of thought when I'm building into how the roof is going to go. Most of you who are subscribed are here from all of the roofing tutorials I've posted over the last month or so, and yeah, I take roofing very seriously. I know that's not something everyone does, but I kind of see it as like a Sudoku or crossword or some sort of logic-based puzzle, and I've always really enjoyed those. So that's kind of where I'm coming at from that, like from that angle, right? So yeah, I've always really enjoyed those, and I see roofing as an opportunity to continue doing that and play a video game at the same time. I also wanted to make sure that the back wasn't too just uninteresting, so I added a little bit of a bump out area there, and once again, taking advantage of the curved. We've had the curved decks for a while, but just trying to bring in some circles now that we have them. I felt like that was important. So back to TikTok. If you do post builds on TikTok or anything, you can follow me there. Sahmandbean. Same as on Instagram with like the underscores between the words and all that jazz. So anyway, as far as TikTok goes, the reason that I'm actually doing this shell is because a simmer that I met recently, Shania Sims, and I each recently passed 1,000 followers on TikTok. And so to sort of celebrate, we're doing a little bit of a shell swap. This is where I realized I messed up on the roofing. I'm gonna have to change some things around, but I was getting there. So we're each doing a shell and then we're swapping them. We have some rules for one another. So I did this shell and she's going to furnish it, and then she has a shell for me that I actually haven't, as of this recording, been able to look at too much. She sent me a couple screenshots. It looks basically the complete opposite of this one. Like very modern, a touch of futuristic. I'm super excited to take a closer look. And if you want to see how Shania Sims finishes up this shell, if you want to show me how you finish up this shell, or if you want to see what I do with the shells that she's building, all that's going to be happening on TikTok. So links will be in the description. Let's get back to roofing talk. Now, the top... One of the things with roofing of this is you don't just want to have roof on the very top level, because it's either going to have to be quite tall so that you're like seeing enough roof to make sense for the size of the build, or you're gonna have to pitch it down and then it's gonna look kind of silly. So what I really recommend doing for anything, especially if it's 3 or more levels, is making sure that you have roofs on multiple levels of the build. So here I have it on the top level as well as the level below it to make it look a little bit more, I don't know, roofed. And then of course the roofs on the towers as well. Because otherwise it's just gonna kind of look like a box with a hat, and you don't want boxes with hats. You can make that work, but in general you want to break up the level of the roof a bit. It'll just make your whole build look significantly more interesting. Now in the middle of the sort of like entry walkway here, I really wanted a pond, but I wanted it to look like a fountain, and fountains are tricky, so what you can do instead is actually make the shape that you want your pond or fountain to be out of foundations like I did here, and then lower the terrain and fill it up with water, and it'll look like a fountain. but you can get much more interesting shapes this way. It can be deeper. You don't have to worry about it being a pool where your Sims are like going to go swimming in it or whatever. So I just find that that's a really nifty little way to do things. One of the hardest parts of building for me is always trying to pick the doors. Right, because you need a good door, and then from the door you have to pick the windows. So I'm going through a lot here. I was considering just sticking with a couple of packs at this point. And really to just get like the basic shell to place properly, what you're going to need is base game, obviously, city living, and cats and dogs. That's the majority of what I used on just like the shell itself. The landscaping, I ended up bringing in a few more packs because I didn't have a pack limit for creating this shell. But that's always like the struggle, right? Is do I make this like how I see it in my head and use a bunch of packs, or do I try to hold back on the packs, still make something cool, and let more people be able to download it? So that's a constant struggle for anyone who's building wherever. So I think I mentioned this in my last video, but I'll mention it here too. If you have like very limited packs and you think that it would be a huge challenge to like build with just the packs you have, or if you have a build request or anything like that, I'm still small enough that I can totally take those on and would absolutely love to. So you can let me know in the comments. Again, Instagram, TikTok, I almost said Tumblr. Technically I'm on there, but it was literally just to post a challenge I made like a year and a half ago. So yeah, TikTok or Instagram, you can message me on there, all that stuff. Where was I? Oh, doors and windows. I love doors and windows. I think it turned out pretty okay. I really think it did. I really like how that fountain turned out in the front there, and also the multi-level like decks, balconies, and porches. I don't remember what the difference is, so I use them interchangeably. I just don't remember. My point was, though, in the front here, there's like circle rounded parts of that front deck area, and I think that's really cool. Oh, and here I wanted to open up that front area. I was debating for a while on whether or not I actually wanted that glass roofed portion to be like the entry. But then I decided I could actually open it up significantly, add a couple of grand staircases, and it will look really, really cool. So I did. Oh, and here's that fence that I grabbed. It's like the short one with the tiles on it. Again, I'm not sticking 100% to any one architectural style, but I thought this looked pretty cool. Also, I swear sometimes I can get sometimes I can get fences to place on top of platforms, and sometimes I can't. And I'm not really sure what the difference is. What I'm doing right or wrong, but if you have any tips on that, let me know. Otherwise, I'll just keep experimenting. As I'm recording this voiceover, I'm remembering this was actually initially going to be another like build with me video where I was going to build it in real time and sort of like show you all the steps, but that just wasn't working. So I ended up recording for just over 3 hours, and I think just over 2 of that was actually spent building. The rest of that time was spent up and away getting stack refills and fixing this and changing that, right? So, you know, just the classic, I'm a parent and this is what happens. Which I'm totally fine with. I love being a parent. It's just, I'm watching this back while I'm recording and being like, oh, I'm gonna have to cut out these just random massive chunks of nothing happening. Okay, so it looks like this is where I decided to branch out from just the city living and cats and dogs pack. So anything I add from here on may or may not be part of those 2 packs. I think that floor is from Get Famous. I don't remember if I stuck with the cats and dogs floor or if I used the eco living floor. The eco living is one of my favorites, but I think I stuck with the cats and dogs one. Just because the floorboards are a little wider and it felt a little bit more accurate. Also, at some point in here we had a toddler keyboard smash, which changed a few things, so I had to go through and fix those. I decided to add some of the roof decorations from Get Together. Again, I don't know how accurate this is to any particular architectural style, but I don't build with a ton of colors very often, and so with the green trim around the roof and everything, I just thought that adding some green details on the roof peaks as well would be pretty cool. Alright, we have a visitor. Would you like to say anything? Can you say like and subscribe? Nope. Okay. Worth a shot. Hi, buddy. Yeah, I need you to keep your head away from the mic. Figuring out the stairs took a bit of time because I had to figure out if I wanted them 1 wide or 2 wide and where I wanted them, and then trying to make sure that I didn't accidentally replace all the floor that I just worked so hard on deleting. All this stuff. I did end up using platforms. I do remember that much. But yeah, let's see. I recorded this a couple days ago, so trying to remember what all I did and then what I didn't do and what I changed. It was a whole process. I do know that the platforms gave me quite a bit of trouble at one point, because I was trying to build the stairs to like connect them and then they wouldn't connect properly. And I mean, if you've built with stairs and platforms, you know how frustrating it can get and how quickly it can get frustrating. I don't know why it has to be like this, but it does. I ended up splitting up the stairs of the platform like that in large part so that I could still have railings.
Mom.
Yeah, that's me. I'm Mom. Okay. I ended up splitting up the stairs like this so that I could have railings on them still, but also I wanted to have it like branch out on either side at the bottom, and if I had just stuck two stairways side by side and had them twisted in opposite directions like you saw just a few seconds ago, then if I had added railing, there would also be a railing running right up the center of the stairs, which I did not want to have. These half walls were also giving me a little bit of trouble. I'll probably cut out a lot of it because I was working on it for quite some time. But just between the platforms and the half walls, I was really struggling to get some clipping issues under control. It ended up fine. I found that the solution was actually to delete the underside of the stairs, that little triangle that places there, because I don't know if you can see it, but you'll probably see it in a second. It was sort of like floating, and I was trying to get a platform like under it, and it was just showing me through the end of the earth. I don't know, I think the Sims exist on a flat planet, because you can just see all the way through to the sky on the other side. I don't know. Like, maybe it's a globe, I just feel like the Sims world is a flat world. I don't feel like there's just much of a globe involved. Also, according to the high school lore that I've been hearing, all the Sims from all the worlds are supposed to like be living all in these like separate little areas, but they all go to the same high school. I don't think, because then there's like Mount Kamarabi, right, which has like the school uniforms and everything. So they must go to a separate school. But then if you're playing with the high school pack, which I don't have, so correct me if I'm wrong, but any Sim from any world can actually attend that high school and do. So in my little brain, right, that may or may not be functioning properly, that means that these worlds are literally as small as they look, right? In order to have any sort of decent busing time, assuming... Okay, I'm also assuming that Sims traveling via teleportation is simply like... I don't know, it's like a... What's the word? Oh no, my literature teacher is going to be so disappointed in me. Not motif, but like a metaphor for how quickly travel happens. Like, I don't think they're actually teleporting, right? And like, we see cars and buses and all that stuff, and there's parking in the world. So I feel like we just have super fast Ubers now or something in like the Sims planet. But in order for the Sims to get to the high school in a decent amount of time, right? They have to like they can't live that far away. And so my brain is just trying to figure out how all these worlds have such different climates and such different temperatures, and yet they can all, like, to be at the same high school. I know I'm thinking way too into this, and I don't care. So what I'm wondering is Flat Earth Sims world, right? Because a flat Earth, from my very basic understanding of the Flat Earth theory, is that the gravitational pull in a flat Earth is actually created by the world spinning and like moving through space, right? Like kind of how our whole solar system is, except it's just the planet. Can I call it a planet if it's flat? I think so. But I think that would mean it could actually be significantly smaller but still have the same gravity, because based on other stuff we see in the world, Sims are roughly like 5'10", right? They're about 5'10", somewhere in there, like a normal human size. And we don't see gravity really behaving any differently, with a few very minor exceptions, right? So the gravitational pull has to be the same, but the world can't actually be that big. So I think that the Sims live on a flat Earth that is spiraling, as flat Earth must do for the gravitational pull, and because it's getting its gravity from movement as opposed to mass, it can be significantly smaller. And I don't remember how like the whole sun and moon thing works, but I feel like there's also a chance that that could lead to having significantly different like climates in a small area as well. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. I think it's a pretty solid theory. I think it explains a lot. And by explains a lot, I mean, of course, it explains absolutely nothing because this is a video game, but I'm having a good time, and so should you be. Figuring out the floor plan for the upper stories wasn't that difficult because I knew I just wanted it to be fairly symmetrical. I think I ended up with a total of 5 bedrooms on the second floor and another 4 bedrooms on the top floor. And the 4 bedrooms on the top floor are significantly different to the ones on the second level, but I figure the top floor probably used to be like servant quarters or something, right? Or storage, or, you know, stuff that isn't used in today's world, basically. So I thought that that would definitely be like why those rooms are just more modern shapes and sizes, and why they all have their own private bath, right? Because now it's used as guest housing. Maybe this is a historic estate, like a super expensive Airbnb or something. I don't know. Can you imagine staying in a French chateau for a night? That would be like, oh my gosh, when I have like a bajillion subscribers, never, I need to find Airbnb to sponsor me and send me to houses that I can build, because that'd be the dream. As it stands, we're currently at like 230 subs when I'm recording this, and that just blows my mind. I know I keep saying this, but I was seriously surprised that I was even on track to pass 100 by the end of July. And I'm super stoked that the content that I've been putting a lot of work and thought into is being valued and people are appreciating it, and I'm being helpful. Like, I live to be helpful. That's kind of my whole thing, right? Like, in real life, I really like cooking and feeding people, and, you know, that's what I do, right? I'm a mom. It's kind of my thing. And so now being able to do not like quite the same thing, but take my weird, nerdy, logic puzzle obsessed brain and make roofing videos and other tutorials and building and all that stuff, and that you guys are enjoying it, like, my mind is blown. I'm like super humbled, but also like I feel really cool, you know? Like, I don't know. I'm smiling a lot, and so I am super just mind blown. I'm so thankful for each and every one of you. I hope that this content continued to meet your standards. If there's anything you'd like to see, or if anything comes up that you're like, oh my gosh, this is so stupid, why did you do this? Let me know. I don't get offended too easily, but don't take that as too much of an invitation, because, I don't know, I might get a little sad. I'm having a great time. Hopefully you guys are too. If you're not subscribed yet, but you'd like to come back for more crazy mom content on the internet, if you're interested in more conspiracy theories about how the Sims 4 planet works, I think about this way too much. Yeah, let me know, because I will definitely make up more theories and share them with you. I would be more than happy to do that. For most of my shells these days, I do make sure that I put in a floor plan and the basic plumbing, basically move-in ready, right? Like, if somebody wouldn't take the thing along if they moved out, I'm going to put the thing in. So I make sure that the stairs make sense, that there's like bathrooms ready to go, that there's a kitchen, bedrooms, doors, windows, all that stuff is placed, flooring and all that. That doesn't mean you have to keep any of it. I build for other people to enjoy, and something that a lot of people enjoy is completely destroying things and making them 1,000 times better. So yeah, if you ever redo any of my builds, this one or anything else, I would love to see it. You guys are so much better at decorating than I am. This is also the 3rd time I started building this. So the terrain, I knew some things that I wanted to do with the terrain, but it's not nearly as crazy as it was the first time, or the second time I built it. The fountains look really nice though. I did test those. The fountains look really nice. And I put down tons of like lightning bugs and all that stuff. But yeah, I did do a little bit of terrain just because I feel like it adds a lot to the build if you can have a pond or a hill or something like that. If you want to use terrain, one of the big tips that I'm going to give for that is to move slowly. I think the only terrain video I ended up posting before I got sick and stuff was just about ponds. So I do have a video about ponds on my channel that you can check out if you're interested. You know what, I'm going to write that down so I link it in the card at the end. Okay, so I'm going to link the pond card at the end so that if you're interested in like learning a little bit about how the terrain tools work, that's a good video to get you started. And if you want to learn more about terrain, let me know. I can make a video about it here, or I can always throw something up on TikTok, just short and sweet, but for the most part, you want to go fairly low and slow. So make sure that your set toward the lower end of speed and the softer end for moving the terrain around. Also, press G to turn off that bright green like overlay that is there often. That can be helpful for setting initial elevations, but when you're trying to smooth stuff out, I find it is so much easier to see if you turn that off. So you can press G to turn that off, just like you turn on and off the grid. And then you can sort of tip the camera down and like smooth it from the side. And I find that's way easier, right, to get like everything smoothed out. I also placed some gnomes in this build. So just a heads up, I believe if you place gnomes, they still come alive for like the Harvest Fest and everything. But I don't use gnomes all that often, and I thought that it would be nice. And let's jump into the game. On the gallery, it is Elegant Chateau Shell. It uses quite a few packs, mostly expansions plus one of the kits. But again, if you're just looking for like the basics of the shell to redecorate or whatever, this door and these windows are from City Living, and then these little doors are from Cats and Dogs, I believe. And then the rest of the packs is just from like the landscaping and wallpapers and stuff. This is how that faux fountain turns out. I think this is really nice, and I definitely do this in a fair number of my larger builds, really. Starting on the lowest level, I have a kitchen over here. I left a lot of space over here for like a table or whatever, plus a table outside could be really cute. This is what I was thinking would be like formal dining, but again, you do you. And then a handful of other rooms, but there are also 2 bathrooms, which is nice. And then we can get a better look at this whole entryway if we could go up one. So this is just going to have beautiful light going up onto this balcony here. This room also has a skylight, which you can see here. And then there are some bedrooms on this floor, as well as, I don't know, a not bedroom. I mean, it could be a bedroom, I just put a glass door there, so not as much privacy. Then the 4 more sort of like guest bedrooms on the top floor, which have towers. If you missed my video on placing ladders and whatever in the round rooms, you can't actually put ladders in these smallest circles because they don't actually have a full square in them, which feels ridiculous, but that's just the way it is. So you can't actually access up here in these towers, but they still look really cool, and the windows will put in all sorts of light, and I'm sure you'll find something interesting to do with that. Nothing special in the backyard. I thought about putting in a pool, but there just wasn't a ton of room. This is a 50 by 40 lot, and with the way the landscaping is, you should have no problem placing this on a larger lot if you wanted to add more space, because it's all connected more to the build. Like, it's branching out from the build as opposed to being like in the corners and stuff, if that makes sense. So placing this on a larger lot shouldn't look weird at all. The worst thing you're going to have to do is sort of extend this area right here. That about does it for me today. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today. Don't forget to check out the links in the description to follow Shania and I on TikTok. I almost said Twitter that time, which I'm also not on. You can follow us on TikTok to see the whole like shell swap, see that play out. I have a build challenge video coming for you next week, probably Tuesday, and I think that's everything. I feel like I'm forgetting to say something, but I can't think of what it is, so I'm just going to put some cards up on the screen. Wish you all a wonderful weekend. I look forward to seeing you back here very, very soon. And don't forget to drink some water, okay? Alright, bye!